Good afternoon, everybody. It is midday, and I'm back with our social media roundups. I'm so excited, and first of all, I want to apologise for the lack of these roundups towards the end of last year, but it was really positively busy, which is great. But I was so keen to get these back for 2019 because I know when I was doing these last year and the year before, in fact, everybody really valued them, and everybody really enjoyed the content that they were getting. So I had to get them back, and I've made the concerted effort to have them all scheduled in between now and December. So you can be assured that I will be here streaming every month. So I'm going to give it a minute or so to see if anybody does join us. But I know which there has. Hi, Leanne. Thanks for joining, love. Good to see you. I'm just going to see if anybody else turns up. But what are these? For those of you who haven't seen these before or weren't familiar with what I was doing last year, every month, at the end of the month, I will do a social media roundup live on Facebook. So I will basically spend 15 to 20 minutes kind of giving you some key updates to the variety of social media platforms there are out there, because we know everything changes constantly, and businesses find it very difficult to, understandably, if they're quite small, to keep on top of all the kind of latest updates and what they mean. So obviously there was a whole load of stuff that happened in the last half of 2018, which I can't possibly go through right now. But what I wanted to do was kind of go through the main things that have happened so far in the start of 2019 across a variety of channels. If you have any questions, all you got to do is put them in the comments and I will read them and answer them. If you have any comments or questions after on the replay, then again, always put them in the comments box and I will pick them up. I will also share the articles, links to the articles that reference some of the changes that I talk about. And for anybody who is not yet in my Facebook group, the Social Media Academy, do join, because there's lots of free stuff that will be happening in there as well this year, including some Ask Me Anythings. So what I'm hoping to do is, after I go live on the page here with the updates, I'm going to hop into the group and host an Ask Me Anything, where you guys can, as it says, ask me anything about the stuff that you've heard. If you know anybody that would be interested, then do tag them in the comments. Do share this out as well. That would be amazing. And yeah, so let's get cracking with January's roundup. First of all, I wanted to say that today is Data Privacy Day. So if you're on Twitter, look up the hashtag Data Privacy Day and you will see loads of content, loads of tips and advice on how to improve your data and the share of your data. But to mark Data Privacy Day, Facebook has actually announced some new features that it will be prompting you to look at in your newsfeed. So over the next couple of weeks, expect when you log in to get a notification from Facebook. Do take a look at it. It's always good practice, I say, to check your security settings and your data settings on Facebook regularly, so that you know nothing has kind of reverted or changed. Because what happens when they do a lot of updates to the platform, sometimes settings that you've put in place can be kind of reversed back to their default. So always check. But they've also added a new privacy hub for businesses, and I'll put the link in the comments. But what they've done is they've created a little hub of resources for businesses to understand how Facebook uses data that they collect from users, and to help you guys understand how it uses that data in advertising. So should you be confused or ever have questions about that, then this is a really great resource for you to go and check out. So they've launched that today, and I will put the link in the comments. And they're also going to be introducing a clear history function. So again, when you're prompted over the next few weeks, you might get a prompt to say, do you want Facebook to clear the history of your use? So it will basically tell you what data it's been collecting from your activity recently. And obviously that information is what they use for businesses to advertise on. So you do have the option to clear all that history. So keep an eye out for that. Keeping on with Facebook, there's been some big changes to groups, and some of you who have a group might have noticed that your numbers have changed, or in fact, if you're like me, you may well have been kicked out of a group recently, which was a complete error. But basically, Facebook wants group numbers to be more authentic and transparent, and so previously, when people have just been invited into groups and not formally asked to join them themselves, their name would be included in your group numbers, and they would obviously be signed up to potentially receive your notifications. Well, now they are actually moving all those people that have been invited and not directly requested to join a group into a separate list, and that will actually have an impact on your group numbers. And for some people, they may well have actually been kicked out inadvertently of a group, which is what happened to me at the weekend. So yeah, there's a couple of bugs there to be ironed out. But the good thing about this function for businesses is that if you have had 200, 300, however many people invited to join your group, but haven't actually yet joined it, you can now send them a notification to like a reminder, basically, to kind of prod them and say, you know, you've been invited to this group, do you want to join? If you do, fill in these questions. So keep an eye out for that feature, but hopefully that will make a Facebook group, on Facebook groups in general, much more meaningful, because it will be full of people who actually want to be there and not just a numbers game. What else have we got happening on Facebook? Integrating events on stories. So if you're not yet using Facebook stories, then this year needs to be the year that you're getting on board with that, particularly for businesses, because it's not as oversaturated yet as it is on Instagram. So if you do start using stories, your content is more likely to be seen a lot more now than when every business is using it because they've cottoned on to the trend. So do use stories, and Facebook's actually testing the ability in the US at the moment, but as we know, when things kind of roll out in the US, it does tend to then come out into the UK and across Europe. But you're going to be able to integrate stories into events now. Sorry, started that opposite way. They're going to be able to integrate events into stories. So if you do create events for your business, which are great for advertising, then you're going to be able to start putting those into stories on Facebook as well. So people will be able to actually RSVP to events through your story, and as such, that will give it greater exposure. So if you're not yet starting to use stories, make sure you do. What else on Facebook? Lots of changes to Messenger features as well. And we've also started to see stickers, call to action stickers in stories introduced, which is pretty cool. So if you have a call to action button on your page, like learn more, shop, buy, you're now going to be able to add in those call to actions onto your stories as well. So again, another way that Facebook's really pushing stories features. And why they're pushing that is because, you know, stories give us a much more personable experience of social media. It's much more one-to-one, it's more authentic, there's not so many advertisements and such like. So it is and it's a massive trend for users, so businesses should be integrating that into their strategy. So get on to stories. Let's flick over onto Instagram then. Not a lot to say really about Instagram this month, although it's constantly changing. But the main thing that I've picked up on this month is that the ability to now post to multiple channels. So if you manage more than one Instagram account, if it's all similar to your business, then you're now going to be, or to one business, you're now going to be able to post to multiple accounts. So if you open up your Instagram app and go through the process of creating an update, you will have a little option at the bottom that says post this to multiple accounts. So again, if you are perhaps a business owner with a business account, your own personal account, and maybe subsidiary accounts that represent elements of your business, this could work really well. Perhaps you're a franchise business and you have lots of franchise accounts that you manage, or you will share corporate content to, then this is a really good feature for you guys to look into. And it's also been announced earlier this month that Instagram has now surpassed television as the only way, or the best way, to advertise to millennials. and to young people. So, which is, you know, it doesn't come as any surprise with the rise of things like Netflix and Amazon Prime. We know that people are kind of watching television a lot less, but Instagram is the platform now if you want to advertise to young people. And, you know, a good kind of 70% plus of users on Instagram are more likely to purchase from businesses who are on there. So definitely get your Instagram game up. What else we got? Quite a few things happening in terms of there was some news around, you know, is Instagram fiddling the algorithm? Are they decreasing business content? That was a big news story a couple of weeks ago or last week, and it has actually come back to say that no, it does not affect your algorithm. The content you see in your feed is based on who engages with you the most, and that's how your news feed is tailored. So there has been definitely no decrease in reach for businesses, but what you do need to concentrate on is creating engaging content, because the more your followers engage with you, the more likely they will be shown something that you're posting. Hello, Helen. Thanks for joining. Hope you're okay and you had a lovely weekend. Any questions, guys, do be sure to put them in the comments. Quick thing on to, so that was Instagram. YouTube. Oh, sorry, going back to Instagram, there was a feature, a bit of news that came out at the end of last week. Messenger, Facebook, and Messenger on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are said to be merging into one interface. Now, they're all going to be standalone apps still, but what it does mean, so there's a bit of, I think, reservation about what that's going to mean and how it's going to look. But one of the plus sides I do think about this is the ability for businesses who are using Facebook to actually cross-post and cross-promote themselves across the whole suite of channels, because we know that private messaging is becoming extremely popular and is a strategy that businesses need to consider more this year, that kind of one-to-one exchange. So WhatsApp and DMs and PMs are much more popular for contact with customers. So what that does mean is that if you don't have, let's say, a WhatsApp for Business account, you should be able to, hopefully in theory, be able to communicate with somebody who uses WhatsApp directly through your Facebook Messenger functionality, which has got to be a big plus there, and I'm really excited to see how that will pan out, and I'll keep you updated. Cool, okay, YouTube, there's been a couple of things in terms of the changes to their interface and how people can look for videos and search for video content. That's all really great. But one of the things that they've come out and said is that 70% of viewing time on YouTube is happening through mobile, which isn't surprising. We know that that mobile is the way forward for advertising, but it's a big reminder for you guys who are creating video, whether it's for YouTube or any social media channel, you know, think mobile. People are scrolling like this and viewing like this in full vertical view. So always keep the mobile experience in mind when you're creating content. She says, live streaming from a desktop. Okay, so that was a little bit about that. What else did we come up with? We found, oh, let's have a look at Twitter actually, because there's been a couple of changes to Twitter in terms of its layout, but also how to analyze all your content. So it's reverting to its chronological timeline, which you can switch on or off. So it means that comments are going to be coming through in, as I said, chronological order again, which is a feature that everybody loved on Twitter. That changed, you know, a couple of years ago. If you don't keep it in chronological order, though, they are introducing a feature that will allow you to view threads of conversation. So it's going to allow you to see who started a thread and then what users are contributing in that conversation. So Twitter are really trying to, you know, move past this platform for news, but also try and again make it a much more meaningful place for content creation and conversation. So there will be a better layout of reply threads. There's going to be a presence indicator, so they're testing something that's quite similar to that Facebook status. So if you're stuck with something to say, what to tweet, they're going to have a kind of status or presence indicator that's coming onto the platform. Let's see how that pans out and people start using that. It will also show, and I've noticed this already, you guys might have as well, it will also show when you're online. So if you're a business again, and you want to improve your customer service with your customers, then you'll be able to show people when you're actually online. So that will be highlighted when you're on Twitter, but you can turn that off. And TweetDeck, for those of you who use TweetDeck to schedule content, then you'll be pleased to know that it now supports scheduling of content with multiple images and video, which beforehand you used to have to use a third-party software like Hootsuite perhaps. So if you've only got one Twitter feed and one Facebook account to manage for your business, then using something like TweetDeck is a much better option. It's tweetdeck.twitter.com and it's free, and it's a much easier platform to use, and makes more sense for you guys rather than having a Hootsuite as well. Because everybody asks me what scheduling tools should I use, and there are loads out there, and all of them have extra functionality like finding user-generated content and articles, etc. But if it's just about time management for you guys, then using the scheduling tool within Facebook is a lot better anyway. And now that TweetDeck have upgraded some of its features, then using TweetDeck for Twitter is a good piece of advice too. They're also relaunching their, adapting their analytics suite. So their analytics tools for Twitter will now actually show you who's reading what and engaging with what. So it's really going to help you over and above impressions and reach, etc., and retweets. It will actually start to tell you who's reading what content and what content is working the best, similarly to how you can find out that information on Facebook. And that should really help you to adapt your content strategy. That's analytics.twitter.com for those of you who haven't played around with that yet. Cool. What else have we got? We did touch upon WhatsApp earlier, and if you haven't seen the news last week from WhatsApp about forwarding messages and cracking down on fake news and spam, you can no longer forward a message on WhatsApp to more than 5 people. However, that doesn't affect your business use. So if you do have a business account and you're using WhatsApp to broadcast, that isn't affected. It's just people who want to forward on content they receive on the app has been restricted. Really, as I said, an attempt to get rid of that spam and fake news crisis that we're in. A couple more things then for this month. Snapchat, and I know not a lot of people that kind of follow me on my page are using Snapchat for business, but it was announced at the end of the year that it is the platform, the only platform that's been said to increase our happiness. People have been surveyed and the Snapchat comes up the highest as the one platform that makes them feel happy. So if you're not using it for a personal use, do get involved and increase your happiness. But for businesses, you know, it's still a really valuable tool. If you have got a younger market that you want to engage with, Snapchat is still a great place to be. And if you're a larger business with advertising budgets and have a great creative team behind you, then again, Snapchat is a really, really fun and useful place for you to get your business noticed on there. They've just released a new Snap series, content series called Solutions in a Snap. And this is particularly to help businesses understand the platform more and how they can use it to promote themselves and their business. And each episode will focus on a specific solution like products or tools, you know, advertising, filters, lenses, that type of thing. So I've been watching that. That's going to be really great. Again, if you're not on Snapchat, check it out. But if you're not on Snapchat, you want to see it already, go to the blog on snapchat.com and they kind of do a roundup of what they've talked about in each episode. And that's WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn. A couple of things, or one thing that I saw on LinkedIn for you guys, which I'm going to share the link to. They've just released a new resource for best practices on company pages. A lot of small business owners I know are primarily using profiles to on LinkedIn to obviously advertise themselves and to network, but they've just, I get asked a lot, like, how can I use my company page better? well, LinkedIn have just launched a curated space of lots of best practice tips and advice on how to use LinkedIn pages, and I'll pop the link in the bottom for you there too. But I've had a quick look and there's loads and loads of great stuff on there. Cool, and then what are we at? 20 minutes. I'm sticking to my time limit. Woohoo! The last thing I wanted to say that we know is going to be a trend for this year. Last year we spoke a lot about influencers, and that's still on the tip of everybody's tongue. If you haven't started influencer marketing, then do reach out and get in touch if you want to investigate that a little bit more about what it means and how you can use it. But micro-influencers are a big trend to consider for this year. People think that influencer marketing is for those who have big budgets because it's about getting in touch or working with what we call macro influencers, so your celebrities and your online celebs who have thousands and thousands of followers. But actually micro influencers can often be and will often be much more valuable for your advertising strategies. These are people who have around the 1,000 or the small thousands of follower mark, and they'll often have a much more engaged audience with your target market and a much more engaged community. So micro influencers are the trend for 2019. If you want some advice about how you can work with influencers, do get in touch. And I think that's it. Look at that, 21 minutes. I did it. Okay, guys, that was a really quick roundup. As I said, that's just some of the top things that we've picked up this month. And going forward, we'll have loads more tips and updates on all the social media channels. If there's anything you see in the news or hear of or see on your phone that you don't understand or want some advice about or are wondering what we think, just send me a message with all the links and I'd love to feature it on these lives. I hope you found that useful. If you did, give me a thumbs up and be sure to join us for next month's live, which is at the end of February. And there'll be an event going live later on today for you to click interested and you'll be notified when we go live. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me know how you're getting on with your social media this month and what your plans are for 2019. We'd love to help you. Thank you, Leanne. I'm glad you found that useful. Do tag people, do share, watch the replay, read the links that I share, and yeah, let us know what you think. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks for watching and thanks to those who do watch on the replay. And I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye.